Hello everyone and welcome to today's live YouTube stream. Quite a few things have happened since we last did a live stream, including the preview release of TFM Talking Flight Monitor version 22.9.1 preview that was released the other day. So without further ado, we will get started. Thank you for joining YouTube channel for Talking Flight Monitor. If you haven't already, make sure you press the subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are set to always, so you get everything that we publish as we publish it, including live streams. Notifications of those live streams 30 minutes before they happen. And also press the like button for this video if you like its content. I'm going to ask everybody who's watching the live stream at this point, you can put your questions in the chat. I will not answer them until the end. We can go through them for probably 5 or 10 minutes at the end. There's not a whole lot to get into at this point because the last YouTube video that we had done and the current is only got a couple of things on it with TFM, so we will get started. I have a 739 loaded, PMDG 739 loaded in the sim, and it is ready to go. Let me unmute NVDA, so if anybody can hear that, let me know. I'll assume it's loaded at this point, so let's load TFM.
Loading airport database.
Alright, so TFM is currently loaded now. The new things that have happened, since the last video. I know there's a 14-week difference. Things came up and I had to take care of them. I didn't feel good. My dog didn't feel good. Had a couple other things going on. But since we're back on track, we were going to cover air systems on the center overhead panel, engines on the bottom overhead panel, and lights on the bottom overhead panel. Now it would be impractical to activate all of these controls for the fact that I have my 739 already powered up and sitting on a runway. So the best that we can do at this point is play around with the controls. The lights we can definitely do, so you can see what that looks like. The engines might not be too practical at this point, but there will be a video down the road that shows how to power this thing up without the use of a first officer. So first of all, we will do a left bracket and then a control P,
level 0 left overhead collapse 1 to 1
to bring up the panels. We will press B for bottom, overhead, we'll expand it, and we'll take a look at engines first.
Idle, level 1 engines 1 to 1.
Okay, there's engines. So again, in most of these videos that we've done, there's two ways to access these panels. The first one is tabbing through the controls. The second one is using keyboard shortcuts to access different controls or groups of controls in that particular panel. And we will take that route first, where we will tab through and see what's here.
APU start selector combo box off collapsed.
Okay, so the APU start switch, and it has
APU start selector list off,
APU selector
on, start, APU selector
start,
APU selector start.
Yeah, so it's going to start for me. Let's turn it off since we don't need it.
Engine number 1 grouping. Engine number 1 start selector combo box auto collapsed.
Okay, so we have an engine 1 group, and in this group we will have the engine 1 starter switch, which is right here.
Engine number 1 start selector auto.
It's set to auto. Its choices that we have are ground, auto, continuous, and flight. And most of the time we're going to have it set to auto. That way it can decide for itself what it needs to do. The next one,
Engine number 1 fuel switch combo box idle collapsed.
okay, is engine 1's fuel control switch. And the two options here are idle or cut off. And generally if you turn it to cut off, it'll shut the engine down because it traps fuel and doesn't let it get to the engine very well. So most of the time when the engine's running, you want it on idle.
Engine number 2 grouping. Engine number 2 start selector combo box auto collapsed.
Okay, here's engine 2 group. It's the same identical thing as engine 1. You have the engine start switch,
Engine number 2 fuel switch combo box idle collapsed.
and you have the fuel cutoff switch.
Ignition selector combo box idle collapsed.
Okay, you have the ignition switch. And this has 3 different settings: ignition left, ignition right, and both. And the manual does pretty good at describing how this particular thing works.
Panels tree view.
And
Engines
we
1 to 1
tab
level
around, and we're back at the tree view for engines. And so now we can do keyboard shortcuts. So APU starter is Alt A as in alpha.
APU start selector combo box off collapsed.
There we go. Now the 2 engine groups, that is a group of controls. So for engine 1, we are going to do Alt plus the number 1.
Engine number 1 grouping. Engine number 1 start selector combo box auto
And it
collapsed.
takes you to the engine start selector. You can tab
Engine
to
number 1
the
fuel switch combo box idle collapsed.
fuel control switch for that. Engine 2 group is Alt plus the number 2.
Engine number 2 grouping. Engine number 2 start selector combo box auto collapsed.
Same thing here. It takes you to the engine start switch, and you can tab to the fuel
Engine
control
number 2 fuel
switch.
switch combo box idle collapsed.
And the last one, Alt I as in India,
Ignition selector combo box idle collapsed.
is the ignition switch. And
Panels tree view.
we
Engines 1 to 1
tab
level
back
1.
to the engine's entry in the tree view. And the next one is the lights.
Lights 1 to 1 level 1.
So you just down arrow once from engines, and here's lights. We will take it tab through the panel, and then we will do keyboard shortcuts through the panel.
Landing lights grouping. Left retractable landing light combo box retract collapsed.
Okay, so here we have a landing lights group. And in this landing lights group, there are 2 sets of landing lights. You have the retractable landing lights and the fixed landing lights. We're on the left retractable landing light, which has the options retract, extend, and off. I believe it's off. Let's see.
Left retractable landing light on.
On. So it's
Left
retract, extend, and on are the choices for those. Now this particular group, since it has 4 controls in the group, it's going to have 1 keyboard shortcut for the group.
Right retractable landing light combo box
The
retract
right
collapsed.
retractable landing light has the same options as the left one: retract, extend, and on. The retractable landing lights are interesting because they extend and retract.
Oxygen level 67%.
They extend and retract on demand, and what they basically do is they are also hinged. So as the nose turns, say, to the left when it's coming into final, then these extendable and retractable landing lights will turn with the nose so it will light up the runway as you turn. Also might let other pilots know that you're coming in for a landing as well.
Left fixed off button.
Okay, the fixed landing lights, those are just the typical standard run-of-the-mill landing lights. They don't move. They're not hinged. They're just on or off. I'll press the button.
Space. Pressed. Left fixed landing light on. Left fixed on. Landing on. Landing off. Landing on. Land. Space. Left fixed landing light off. Left fixed off.
And same thing with the right one.
Space.
Press it.
Pressed. Right fixed landing light on. Right fixed on. Landing on. Landing off. Landing on. Landing off. Space. Right fixed landing light off.
So some people might wonder, why is it saying two different things like 2 or 3 different times? And this is a preview build, so there are different sets of offsets or different sets of controls. Copies. So there may be 3 copies of landing light announcements that are defined inside of TFM source code. Until the preview build turns into a final release, it will do that. It will say 2 or 3 different times, 2 or 3 different things about, say, this landing light here.
Start window. Search window.
Whoops.
Search box edit blank.
Let me fix that.
Landing. Right fixed landing
There
light
we
on.
go.
Landing on.
So it says right
Landing
fixed on, landing
Landing
light on,
Landing off.
and then
Landing
it's
on. Landing off. Landing on.
blinking.
Landing off. Right fixed landing light off.
So we'll turn that off. So it would be kind of the same way if you pressed your keyboard hotkey for parking brake, or on your controller surface like my throttle here.
Parking brake on.
I can turn the
Parking
parking
brake
brake on and off. So if I were to
Parking brake on.
turn the parking brake on and TFM were to announce parking brake on 3 times or parking brake off 3 times, it's not technically supposed to do that, but I'm making sure I get all of this work done before I turn the old announcements off.
Parking brake off. Parking brake
All right,
on.
let's make sure that's turned on just in the event we happen to make the plane go somewhere. Alright, on with the lights.
Runway turn off lights grouping. Left turn off button.
Alright, so we have runway turn off lights. Now, this might get confusing because when TFM announces it, it's going to say something like left runway turn off light off, which might be a slight bit of a grammatical confusion or a double negative. The name of the light is actually runway turn off. And what it does is when you are taxiing away from the runway onto a taxiway, these particular lights will light up the left corners and the right corners of the turnway from one threshold to another threshold. As you turn, say, left, these lights will turn to the left so you can see what might be in the little dinky corners of the taxiway or the runway, because they use them to navigate to the runway as well. That way you don't run over things like, I don't know, little black cats, or maybe there's a human standing out there in the dark, or maybe there might be just so much of a smidge of a billboard hanging over the ledge or something like that. That way you can light it up and you don't run over it. And there's 2 of these.
Right turn off button.
They're on and off.
Space. Right runway turn off light on. Right turn off on.
So we'll turn the right one on.
Space. Right runway turn off
Turn
light
the
off.
right one
Right
off.
turn off. Taxi light off button Alt plus T.
Then we go to taxi light. It's just an on-off switch.
Space. Taxi light on. Taxi light on.
So
Taxi
it's on right now. And we'll turn it
Space.
off.
Pressed. Taxi light off.
Thing about
Taxi
these
light off.
controls
Taxi
is
off.
they will always tell you what the current state is. So
Runway
for
turn
an
off lights grouping.
example,
Right turn off button.
the right turn off light is off because this particular button says it's off. And then you
Space. Right runway turn
press
off light
it
on.
to turn
Right
it
turn
on.
off on. Space. Right runway turn off light
And then
off.
off
Right
again.
turn off.
Alright,
Taxi light off
taxi
button Alt plus
light
T.
is off.
Logo light off button Alt plus G.
The logo light,
Space. Pressed. Logo
same
lights
thing.
on.
You just
Logo light
turn
on.
it on or turn it off.
Space. Logo lights off. Logo light off. Anti-collision light off button. Alt plus
Anti-collision light is the same as the
Space.
beacon light.
Pressed. Anti-collision lights on. Anti-collision light on. Beacon on.
You heard in the announcement it says anti-collision lights on, beacon on.
Space. Pressed. Anti-collision light off.
Just depends on how you word it. Technical reference says they're anti-collision lights because that's exactly what they do. They prevent collisions while you're on the ground and at low altitudes.
Wing lights off button. Alt plus
The
W.
wing lights, those are on.
Space. Pressed.
Or off.
Wing lights on. Wing lights on.
They're on now.
Space. Pressed.
Now
Wing
they're
lights
off.
Wing lights off. Wheel well lights off button. Alt plus H.
The wheel well lights, that lights up the wheel wells, just like you have on a car where you have the wheel well. Aircraft has a wheel well just the same. The only difference being is it's a lot larger and it's lit up when you turn these
Space.
wheel well lights on.
Wheel well lights on. Space. Wheel well lights off. Wheel well lights off. Position lights off button. Alt plus P.
And then position lights, those we never had access to in the past. Position lights are used to let other aircraft know about your exact location in reference to them or what your intentions are, mainly flying above 10,000 feet. And there's a good discussion about those online. They can get rather confusing because there's multicolored lights and they flash and all that good kind of stuff depending on what you want them to do.
Panels preview. Lights 1 to 1 level 1.
And we are back at the panels. Tree view listing. Now,
Desktop list.
since this is a preview build 22.9.1, I want to show you where
Start window. Search window.
you can get this preview build because there is some confusion.
www.
Whoops,
Run
let me
desktop
not
list.
do that.
TFM dev build.
Let's go to
dialog
run.
type.
It's going to be
www.
www.
TALKINGFLIGHTMONITOR.com
talkingflightmonitor.com
slash PREVIE _RELEASES
preview dash releases.
That's untitled Google Chrome. Document busy blank. Preview releases. Talking Flight Monitor document.
And we are right here. If you're using a screen reader, you can press H.
Main landmark preview releases heading level 1.
Just skip to the main heading.
This page displays the latest preview release of Talking Flight Monitor. Pre-releases will be published whenever new features are added. These are development builds, so may not be suitable for production use. If the only release displayed is the latest production version, then there are no preview releases.
Okay, so on this page, it has the release notes. What's new, what bugs have been fixed or dealt with, any particular notes or reminders about things. And so you can read through this whole entire thing to find out what's new, all that good stuff.
Talking Flight what's new, heading level 3.
So there's the what's new, for an
List with 9 items,
example.
bullet TFM, navigate the bullet
There's
TFM.
9 new major features,
Bug fixes heading level 3.
bug fixes.
List with 4 items, bullet the T out of list
There
heading.
are 4 major bug fixes.
Known issues heading level 3.
Known
List with
issues.
3 items, bullets installed.
There's 3 major known issues.
FS 2020 notes and reminders heading.
And then, of course, notes and
List
reminders.
with 3 items, bullet out of list.
Right now, there's only 3 about FS 2020. And so,
Complementary landmark search heading level 2. Heading level
once you find the search field with your heading key that you use with your screen reader, you
main landmark
can
list with 2 items, source code link.
shift tab. That takes you to the source code. One
Bullet.
more, if you
Link TFM preview 22.9.1
up arrow a couple of
set.
times,
Link TFM preview 22.9.1 setup.x36.12 MB3 downloads.
there's the link to download it. So all we're going to do is we'll press enter on it to
Downloading
download it.
36.1 MB. TFM preview 22.9.1 setup.x alert. TFM preview 22.9.1 setup.x is not commonly downloaded and may be dangerous. Alert.
You can ignore that if it tells you it's not commonly
Downloads are
downloaded. We
proven.
will not put any kind of virus or spyware
LAN. Options menu button.
in there.
Space menu selected sub
So you can press Shift F6 to the downloads bar if you're using Chrome tab to the options menu button,
K1 of 2.
down arrow to keep,
Downloading. 0% remaining alert.
and it will download
Start
it.
grouping. TFM preview 20. Download complete. TFM.
Alright, so now it's downloaded.
Desktop
We can
list.
close
TFM
that.
dev build 20 of 35.
Now we want
Anti-Porca
to
1 of 30.
install
File
it.
Explorer. Anti-Porca. Items view list.
So
Android.
we will go to our
double.
downloads
Items view
location.
list. Space. Selected. FSFO Prof. Approach setup. TFM preview 22.9.1
There
setup.
it is. And it's just the typical
Window
installer
dialog.
we can run
Windows
through.
Defender Smart Screen window. Windows protected your PC.
Okay, Windows Defender Smart Screen. If this pops up, it is safe.
More info link.
So what you do, go to more info link, press enter once,
Run anyway button.
tab twice to run anyways.
C. Users Anti-Porca download. TFM preview. Talking flight monitor preview 22.9.1 setup dialog. No soft install system.
And this is the typical installer.
greater.
You just press next all the way through, making sure you pay attention to the prompts.
Cancel button. Space.
And
C.
we will
Users
not
Anti-
do that here.
TFM preview 20. Name split button collapsed sorted. Ascending. Desktop list.
And so I think we can open it up to questions now. So if anybody has any questions, keep putting them in the chat field. Okay, if there are no questions in the next couple of minutes, then I will end the stream. Alright, since there are no questions, I'll end the stream. Again, this is Talking Flight Monitor Week 14 of the PMDG 737 Rebuild Series. We covered air systems, engines, lights, and how to download the Talking Flight Monitor preview builds and install them. If you like the content that you see and hear, don't forget to press the subscribe button. Don't forget to set your notifications to always so you get everything we publish as we publish it